Я не могу облажаться, если я проиграю, люди меня не поймут. Из-за этого нужно выйти и показать.
That's different.
Yeah.
But Sarukyan doesn't get hit a lot. No. He's a really good wrestler.
Arman Tsarukyan's UFC return is officially secured, setting the stage for major lightweight movement. While fresh contenders line up, ongoing talk of a possible matchup with Ilia Topuria continues to circulate, keeping fans closely watching what unfolds next. Meanwhile, the discussion around Arman Tsarukyan possibly meeting Ilia Topuria caught Joe Rogan's attention. On his show, Rogan, Brendan Schaub, and Brian Callen broke down how both fighters compare in skills. They mentioned Arman's wrestling strength and solid striking, but also noted Topuria's explosive knockout ability. They made clear that both fighters bring different tools, which makes the matchup very difficult to predict.
Yeah, Sarukyan can also strike, though, and his wrestling.
Oh, not like Topuria.
His striking's pretty good.
His striking's good.
Not
He's
as
very
good. Nobody on this planet would say it's as good as Topuria's. I think we can give those problems.
Yeah, would you put your money on Topuria though in that fight?
I wouldn't put money on that fight.
I'd say with Topuria, listen, Sarukyan knocks people out. He's very good striking.
Yeah.
But what Topuria has is that weird power.
Yeah.
The same thing we were talking about Pereira. He's got that weird power.
He does get hit though. He does
get hit, but he wants to get hit.
Yeah.
He wants to throw himself in there so he can get those counters off because he knows when his land,
it's over.
So in that sense, you haven't seen those kind of fight. Look what he stopped 3 legends in a row.
Then the talk moved toward Topuria's track record of finishing elite names. Rogan highlighted how rare it is to knock out champions like Volkanovski, Holloway, and Oliveira in such fashion. At the same time, Brendan and Brian acknowledged Sarukyan's defense and grinding style. They argued that if Arman can use his wrestling to control rounds, he might be the one to limit Topuria's dangerous striking.
Max Holloway's never been knocked out.
It's one of the greatest 3-fight win streaks.
Just as good? Striking?
I think Sarukyan. I would probably say Sarukyan's wrestling will get the job done.
We're not talking about wrestling.
And it might be a boring fight.
We're not talking about wrestling though,
dude. To go from knocking out Volkanovski to knocking out Max Holloway to knocking out Oliveira, that is the greatest 3-fight win streak in the history of sport. KOs, all flatlines.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah.
But Sarukyan doesn't get hit a lot. No. He's a really good wrestler. His transition is big for the weight class.
Yes.
Which is probably why they f***ed up in the last one when he got pulled from the fight.
That's right.
Because he's probably cutting too much weight.
But the knock on Sarukyan would be when he fought Charles Oliveira, who Topuria just starched.
Yeah.
Is if that was a 5-round fight, he probably would have lost it.
After looking at striking and wrestling, Rogan, Brendan, and Brian brought up mental strength. They mentioned how Oliveira's career showed that fighters can turn things around despite tough setbacks. For Topuria and Sarukyan, focus and discipline would be just as important as physical skills. They agreed that both men are mentally strong, but how they handle pressure in a possible fight would decide the outcome.
Interesting.
Look at this.
But Sarukyan's definitely his toughest.
This is slow-mo KO.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Hit him twice. Oh,
bro. Like, nobody's ever done that to Oliveira like that at 55. The last time he got KO'd like that was Cub Swanson, probably.
Old school.
Remember that?
Yeah, that's right.
There was a time where Charles Oliveira was just not all in. He just wasn't like fully focused.
He had like quit in him. Where I thought once you show signs of quit, you're fucked. But he found it somewhere else.
He found it. Yeah,
he had a very interesting psychological study.
Adding on, Arman Tsarukyan has been staying busy while waiting for his return to the UFC. Instead of stepping away completely, he has chosen to test himself in different ways. This week, he takes on a grappling challenge in Moscow against former UFC champion Benson Henderson. For Sarukyan, it's more than just practice, it's a way to stay sharp and keep his focus during the long break.
Я не могу облажаться, если я проиграю, люди меня не поймут. Из-за этого нужно выйти и показать на все 100% и быть готовым, так как схваткой, по-моему, 10 минут без остановки это очень нелегко. Из-за этого профессионально отношусь, тренируюсь, прохожу сбор, слежу за питанием. В целом мне все нравится. А вот такие схватки проводить, так как пока боев нету, у тебя есть что-то перед тобой, и ты держишь дисциплину, начинаешь тренироваться, чуть по-другому относиться к своему телу. Все равно, когда у тебя ничего нету, ты где-то можешь что-то съесть, что-то где-то там чуть позже уснуть, потому что нету стартов. А когда у тебя есть старт, у тебя в голове мотивация,
Meanwhile, as he waits for his next UFC assignment, Arman Tsarukyan has chosen to stay active in competition. Instead of sitting on the sidelines, he continues sharpening his ground game through grappling events. These matches not only test his skills against seasoned opponents, but also help maintain focus. Now, he's gearing up once again, ready to step into another challenging contest outside the octagon. Moving on, with talk of a fight against Ilia Topuria still unclear, Chael Sonnen explained why Arman Tsarukyan is staying active. Arman agreed to a grappling event in Russia to keep his skills sharp and avoid a long break. Sonnen believes this shows Arman wants to stay busy, stay ready, and prepare for a potential matchup with Topuria, even if it doesn't happen until next year.
Tsarukyan brought us news that Ilia Topuria does not want to fight until next year. Tsarukyan's just making the comment, yes, I believe I should have Ilia Topuria. I'm not willing to wait to get Ilia Topuria. An announcement comes out. He has agreed to a grappling event in Russia. The idea that Sarukyan has accepted this for September tells me that he didn't accept a fight in October or November. It tells me that he's doing something to stay busy because he might have to wait until next year if that in fact is what the champion is going to force him to do, and if in fact Sarukyan is fighting the champion. Look guys, we show up here with nothing more than speculation. But in the world of speculation, I submit for you, Arman Tsarukyan wants to stay busy so he's not rusty by January of next year, and therefore he booked a grappling match. I submit for you, Arman Tsarukyan is planning to take on Ilia Topuria next.
Talking about potential matchups on the other side, talk of a Crawford versus Topuria fight has generated a lot of attention as well. Ariel Helwani and Mysterious Frank noted that timing will be key, as Topuria's schedule and upcoming fights could affect whether the matchup happens. If Topuria loses or delays, the fight might not take place. Fans and analysts are watching carefully, as every resultant decision could shape this potential matchup.
Ilia versus Crawford?
Yeah.
I'm going false.
Man, I don't
True.
know. I kind of feel
Maybe,
True.
I don't know if it's 26, maybe 27.
But 27 leaves too much of a window for Ilia. If Ilia loses, this fight is gone. This fight evaporates.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think if it happens at 26, and I'll just say, let's do it.
If they do fight, who gets to walk out to the song?
I think he's used it like one and done.
Yeah.
It's not his thing. It was a nice little shot.
No, but then he does use it because it turns out he was just a fan of the song and wanted to use it, and it had nothing to do with Ilia Topuria.
Ilia Topuria walks out to it. Aye.
Ariel and Frank then discussed fighter walkouts and event presentation. Music and entrance choices can excite fans and add personality to the fighters. Helwani and Frank analyzed how Crawford and Topuria might approach entrances, including different songs versions and fan reactions. These small details may seem minor, but they build hype and contribute to the spectacle, keeping viewers invested even before the first punch is thrown.
Or maybe different renditions of it, or different people singing it.
Yeah.
Who was the guy that he mentioned? Robles? Was it Robles the Spine?
I don't know. I missed this.
He said it. So I was assuming, one of you, like,
Definitely not Robles this fine.
Cinephiles.
Who, me?
Would have said, "Oh yes, of course." He was referencing.
Yeah, two different pronunciations and neither correct.
What is it?
Cinna, like cinema.
Oh.
I haven't seen Desperado. I only know that song because of Ilia Topuria.
He was referencing the 2013 film.
Frankie would have done that whole thing, but he was still so reeling from the Tool part.
I have never heard Frankie talk so much on air in his life.
Finally, Ariel Helwani and Frank focused on lighter behind-the-scenes details. They discussed band setups, music performances, and fan observations. Even small surprises like partial drum kits or unexpected reactions make the event memorable. These details keep fans engaged while maintaining attention on the fighters. It highlights that fight events aren't just about action inside the octagon, they include performances, atmosphere, and the overall spectacle.
And I've never heard a bigger, just like, the second they showed these guys from like 500 feet off, Frank was like, "Oh my God, is that Tool?" And I was like, "Wait, what?" He's like, "The two guys down there, that's half a Tool." He was loving it.
Literally, because I was like making a joke like, "Oh, here comes Queen Latifah," and then instead I'm like, "Wait a minute, am I?"
Latifah.
Or Mark Anthony, like just someone, and then this was so random. I was so surprised.
Why was it 2, and how many?
These are great questions for Terrence.
No, but how many are in the group?
There are 4 members of the band.
Oh.
Some people in the community are joking that was actually only 2.8 2 members because only half of the drum kit was there.
Furthermore, Michael Bisping explained Crawford's thoughts in a fight with Ilia Topuria. Crawford was asked about the matchup and money, comparing it to McGregor versus Mayweather. He said there isn't much money and Topuria is nowhere near McGregor's fame. Bisping added that while Topuria is talented and rising fast, Crawford focuses on skill over hype, showing why he might not pursue this fight right now.
So this all culminates with Terence Crawford, of course. He's doing the rounds, he's doing interviews, and he was asked about Ilia Topuria, and he was asked about the potential of fighting him, and he was like, why? For what? You know? And he was told, for money by Ariel Helwani. He said, yeah, what about the money? He's like, well, there isn't any money. Yes, there's Conor McGregor who did that with Floyd Mayweather, but Ilia Topuria is nowhere near the level of a Conor McGregor. And to be honest, he's probably right. You know, listen, Ilia Topuria is phenomenal. He is a major star. He is potentially the biggest star in the UFC right now. But the level of fame that Conor McGregor had, and still has, or you could call it infamy, whatever you want, that level that he reached was insane. The world had seen nothing like it, okay? And back then in his prime, Conor McGregor, he was a one-off.
The discussion then compared Topuria's style, confidence, and popularity to Conor McGregor. Bisping highlighted that Crawford doesn't see Topuria reaching McGregor-level fame. Even with charisma and potential, Topuria is not on the same global level. Crawford admitted he hasn't watched much of Topuria's fight, and Bisping concluded that while Topuria is skilled, fame, recognition, and hype make a big difference in considering a matchup like this.
I don't think there'll ever be another Conor McGregor. Yes, Ilia Topuria is doing his thing. He's undefeated. He's phenomenal. He's now a 2-weight division champion. Topuria's got the tattoos to match as well, okay? And he's got the same kind of confidence and the same kind of swag. And of course, he speaks Spanish and he speaks Georgian. He is Georgian. But is he Conor McGregor level-esque? Well, apparently, according to Crawford, no, he's not. He's nowhere near the level of Conor McGregor. Let's be real. Stop it. Don't ever compare him to Conor McGregor. He went on to say, like I said, I don't even know this guy. I've never seen the guy fight. I watch a lot of MMA, and I mean, maybe I'm slipping. Maybe he's a good fighter. I don't know. But honestly, I've never seen this guy fight. And I've seen Conor McGregor fight a lot of times. It's night and day. Don't compare Conor McGregor and Ilia Topuria. That isn't a bad perspective.
Adding on, Shakur Stevenson talked about Bud Crawford and why he's different from other fighters. He said Crawford is strong in boxing and wrestling and even sees him as a tough opponent outside the ring. Stevenson pointed out that Crawford's skills, athleticism, and experience make him very hard to beat. This shows why anyone thinking about facing him needs to be careful and respect his abilities.
Now, I think them guys got to leave Bud alone. You know, I kind of seen a picture of Bud dapping him up before Bud was going to his workout or leaving his workout. I think them guys got to leave Bud alone. I think Bud Crawford is just different, especially if you're talking about getting in a boxing ring with him, bro. You're not going to last more than one round, I don't think. But you better off saying UFC. Like, Bud is a guy that I wouldn't be surprised if he gets in the UFC and beat the shit out of some guys too, because he got a great wrestling background. I done seen him wrestle real wrestlers.
Furthermore, Daniel Cormier talked about Ilia Topuria wanting to fight Terence Crawford. On the surface, it seems possible, like Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather. MMA champions get global attention, which makes these matchups tempting. But Cormier said it's not just about popularity. Skills, experience, and results matter more than hype. Just looking at fame doesn't show if the fight can really happen. He said, one person that comes to mind or that is very open about wanting to fight Terence Crawford has been our champion at lightweight, former featherweight champion Ilia. Further, he added, on the surface, it looks and feels possible because MMA is massive, and the world pays attention to our champions. We saw Conor McGregor do it against Floyd Mayweather, and Ilia has some similarities, so why can't it happen? Cormier added Crawford's view. Fame alone doesn't make a fight realistic. MMA fighters talk about crossovers often, but real ability is key. Topuria is talented and a knockout threat unlike some others. Matchups depend on boxing skill and performance, not just popularity. Even if the idea excites fans, what matters is what each fighter can do inside the ring, making the fight feasible or not. He said, when you start looking deeper, you have to be truthful. Terence Crawford said it best in an interview with Ariel Helwani, I partly disagree but also agree. Further, he said, MMA fighters have always discussed crossovers. Nate Diaz even mentioned himself in Bud Crawford. Star power is high, but boxing ability matters. And Nate doesn't knock people out, but Ilia does. which makes this matchup serious and different. Adding on, Long Island Luke talked about his potential matchup. He explained that while the fight might get attention and is winnable for Crawford, timing and career stages matter. Luke compared it to other crossover fights like Mayweather versus McGregor, showing that MMA stars often consider boxing as a way to earn big paydays later in their careers.
As big as just fighting Canelo again would be on Netflix. The rematch, I'm sure it would do better numbers, maybe slightly better. And it's a totally winnable fight. We just saw him basically, for lack of a better term, audit him, you know? So I don't really see why Bud wouldn't just cash in on that. Ilia could arguably lose in his next fight if he fights Arman or something, or whoever, you know? So let that one play out a little bit. Give it another year or two. Also, Bud's approaching 40. I feel like as he gets closer to that, he might entertain this a little more. But for now, I think
Ilia's smaller than him. Like, this isn't even a matchup. You know, Mayweather-McGregor made sense because Floyd was retired and 40. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, like, this is just stupid, and it plays along that same trope as soon as an MMA star gets to the peak of their profession, they want to cash themselves out and be the losing B-side in another sport.
Building on Luke's view, Brian Campbell added more perspective on why a fight between Bud Crawford and Ilia Topuria is complicated. He highlighted weight differences, Crawford's age, and the need to rebuild his body after a break. Money, timing, and UFC schedules also play a role. Even if fans want it, practical challenges make this matchup harder to happen than it seems.
147, that was the welterweight
unit. So even less. So why can't they fight at 55 and that not be crazy? You don't think Bud can get back down there?
Bud took 2 years to rebuild his body to do it the right way to get to 68. He said he can't make 54 anymore. And I just don't think there is as much money as we think because Turki Al-Sheikh is in boxing right now. And Bud is now like for as long as he's going to stay around, he's the star child of the moment. He just beat Canelo. I think this only would work if Topuria had defeated McGregor in the past year, which was a fight I was saying, if you want to make Topuria the next McGregor, feed him to old McGregor to get there. I don't think they want to do that, the UFC. That's what's holding Ilia back, in my non-Australian opinion, as the only true American on this show.
After analysts like Luke and Brian Campbell discuss the challenges of a Bud Crawford versus Ilia Topuria fight, he isn't focused on hype or speculation. For him, knowing his opponents personally matters more than online claims or media chatter. This mindset shows why he's not worried about Ilia, despite discussions about money, weight, or timing.
To be honest, I never even seen this dude fight. I ain't even gonna lie. You know, I'm not worried about that guy at all. You know, it's crazy how, you know, things work, you know. I didn't even know who he was. When he seen me at the UFC, he came up and shook my hand saying, "What's up?" to me. I didn't even know who he was.
Crawford also addresses fighters who hype online challenges. Unlike what fans or analysts speculate, he values honesty and direct communication. If someone wants to fight him, he expects them to ask in person rather than make claims on social media. This shows his approach. Preparation, skill, and integrity are more important than publicity stunts or internet talk when considering a real fight.
You know, but then I see him online talking about he'd knock me out in the first round and this and that and this. Well, if you want to fight me, you had the opportunity to tell me, like, hey, man, I want to fight you. What's up? Like, that's fake. You know, if I don't like somebody, if I want to fight them for whatever reason, I would have been like, hey, what's up, man? What you think about me and you fighting? I'm not going to go hide behind, you know, the keyboard and things like that and then be like, oh, I knocked this dude out, this and that and this. I think that's fake.
Arman Tsarukyan's UFC return has fans buzzing, and the possibility of a fight with Ilia Topuria keeps speculation alive. While Sarukyan stays sharp with grappling challenges, Topuria's knockout power makes him a dangerous opponent. At the same time, Bud Crawford shows why skill and discipline matter more than hype. He focuses on real preparation and respecting opponents. Timing, weight, and career stage all play a role in making these matchups realistic. Fans can dream about these crossovers, but the fighter's strategy and readiness are what will decide the outcome. So who do you think would win if Arman Tsarukyan faces Ilia Topuria, or if Bud Crawford takes in Topuria? Drop your predictions in the comments.